The 10th Legion, known as Legio X Equestris, held a distinguished status as one of Julius Caesar's most reliable legions. Renowned for its critical role in Caesar's Gallic campaigns and immortalized in Caesar's commentaries, the 10th Legion was among the 4 legions that Caesar assumed control of as governor of Cisalpine Gaul in 58 BC. With the bull as its emblem, there are different theories surrounding the legion's origins, with some proposing its formation during the Social War or its enlistment in 61 BC by Gaius Julius Caesar during his governance in Baetica or Hispania Ulterior. After the men of the 10th Legion were equipped, assigned their special duties, and completed their basic training, Caesar, satisfied with their preparedness, organized them into a column alongside the experienced 8th and 9th Legions. Together, they marched out of Cordoba, crossed the Guadalquivir River, and headed north into present-day Portugal. Lusitania, as the Romans referred to this region, remained unconquered, with its hill towns shutting their gates to Roman advances and its tribes fiercely resisting Roman expeditions. The poorly led, poorly equipped, and poorly organized tribes of Lusitania presented an ideal opportunity for a capable and ambitious commander like Julius Caesar to leave his mark in history. After meticulously planning his campaign, Caesar led his force of 18,000 legionaries and several hundred cavalry, accompanied by a large baggage train of pack animals, carts, supplies, artillery, and siege equipment, all managed by non-combatant muleteers through the valleys of Portugal. Over the next few months, the expeditionary force methodically conquered fortified hill towns, facing and overcoming fierce opposition. The legionaries would rise before dawn to either continue besieging a town or march to the next resistance point, often covering an average of 6 hours before setting up camp for the night. This challenging campaign allowed the young men of the 10th Legion to experience their first battles and witness the effectiveness of the strict discipline enforced by their centurions. Through months of marching, digging, charging, and overcoming resistance, raw recruits were transformed into disciplined soldiers, and the 10th Legion became a formidable force. This was only the beginning of Caesar's partnership with the 10th Legion. In the summer of 58 BC, Julius Caesar fulfilled his promise to the soldiers of the 10th Legion. Upon assuming the governorship of Cisalpine Gaul and Illyricum at the start of the year, a position later expanded by the Senate to include Transalpine Gaul, following the death of its governor, he summoned the 10th Legion from Spain, and it marched to new quarters in southern France. Caesar soon received reports that the sizable Helvetii tribe of Switzerland planned to migrate to southern Gaul, modern-day France, where Rome held a significant and thriving province. The Helvetii had sent messages to their clans and 4 other tribes who intended to join their march to gather at the Rhone River on March 28th, then cross the bridge at Geneva and continue into France. Caesar was resolute in his determination to thwart their plans. He rapidly enlisted 2 new legions in northern Italy, the 11th and 12th, combined them with his existing legions, and led them into southern France to confront the Helvetii. The 10th Legion, alongside the 7th, 8th, and 9th Legions, participated in the battles of Arar and Bibracte. The 10th Legion played a pivotal role in Caesar's triumph over the Helvetii tribes, preventing their migration from present-day Switzerland to western France. The 10th Legion was not finished with fighting for the year. It was barely midsummer of 58 BC, and following Caesar's defeat of the Helvetii, the tribes of the region approached him, seeking liberation from the threat posed by a German king, Ariovistus, and his fierce Suebi tribe, who had invaded northern Gaul. Caesar issued the familiar order to his legions: prepare to march. Ariovistus, king of the Suebi Germans, had sent Caesar a message agreeing to a peace conference, but with an unusual condition. Both leaders were to be accompanied only by a bodyguard of mounted troops. This led Caesar to suspect that the German had bribed members of the Roman general's Gallic cavalry to assassinate him on the way to or during the conference. In response, Caesar instructed his Gallic cavalry to temporarily relinquish their horses and to be replaced by mounted infantrymen of the 10th Legion. As the legionaries were getting ready, a soldier of the 10th remarked, "Caesar is exceeding his promise. He pledged to make the 10th his bodyguard, and now he's knighting us." From that day, the nickname Equestris became synonymous with the 10th Legion for generations to come. During the Battle of Vesontio in 58 BC against the Suebi tribe, the 10th Legion held its position on the right wing, as was customary. Witnessing the enemy line's vulnerability on that side, Caesar assumed command of the right and ordered the first two lines to charge. The men of the 10th Legion responded with great enthusiasm, swiftly engaging in combat. Despite being caught off guard, the Germans facing them charged so quickly that the legionaries did not even have time to hurl their javelins. Instead, they drew their swords as the two forces clashed. The Germans had adopted the phalanx formation used by the Helvetii, with their line bristling with long spears in an attempt to keep the Romans' short swords at bay. Undeterred, the soldiers of the 10th Legion pushed through the spears and fiercely engaged the front line of German shields. Some managed to wrest shields from their owners, while others reached over the top of the shields to stab at the German soldiers. With these bold tactics, the 10th Legion quickly overcame the German left flank. Subsequently, the Romans broke through the Suebi right flank, securing a decisive victory. This triumph added to the 10th Legion's illustrious record of achievements. After the fierce Battle of Axona in 57 BC, Caesar advanced against the Nervii tribe. With the assistance of other Belgic tribes, the Nervii successfully ambushed Caesar near the Sambre River. The Belgic warriors were already crossing the Sambre when Caesar comprehended the gravity of the situation. He swiftly issued orders, raised his flag, and sounded the trumpets for the call to arms. As chaos ensued, Caesar urgently rode to the 10th Legion, positioned on his left. The soldiers of the 10th Legion promptly abandoned their tasks, armed themselves, and hastened down the hill to form their cohorts below the camp defenses, their shields still covered in leather. Many were so pressed for time that they didn't even have the chance to don their helmets, let alone adorn them with plumes or decorations. "Soldiers of the 10th," Caesar shouted, "uphold your legacy of bravery, stand firm in the face of the enemy's assault, and victory will be ours." The soldiers of the 10th responded with a resounding cheer, brandishing their javelins in the air. Confident that his esteemed legion would hold their position, and with a reassuring nod from General Labienus, Caesar hurried off to organize defenses in other areas. The Roman army faced significant challenges as the landscape, marked by a steep slope, hedgerows, and the unexpected nature of the attack, caused the legions to become fragmented. The 10th and 9th legions found themselves isolated from the rest of the army as the warriors of the Atrebates tribe emerged from the river and advanced rapidly up the slope toward them. Demonstrating composure, General Labienus waited for the enemy to approach within range before ordering the front line to release a volley of javelins. The projectiles struck the advancing Atrebates with deadly effect, halting their momentum as they became exhausted and suffered heavy casualties. With the Atrebates momentarily stalled, Labienus commanded his troops to charge. The legionaries, with swords drawn and led by their general, surged down the hill, overwhelming the Belgian warriors. The rear ranks of the Atrebates turned and fled in disarray toward the river, pursued by the relentless Roman soldiers who cut down many as they attempted to escape. The river soon became choked with the bodies of the fallen. Continuing their pursuit, the men of the 10th and 9th legions drove the remaining Atrebates up the far slope, all the way to the woods from which they had initially emerged. In the Roman right wing, the 7th and 12th legions found themselves nearly encircled by Baduagnatus and his Nervii. At this point, the disorder among the Romans, particularly affecting the less experienced men of the 12th legion, whose centurions were mostly either dead or injured, posed a serious threat of defeat. The 4th cohort of the legion, which had borne the brunt of the Nervian assault, had lost all its centurions and a standard bearer. On the opposite river bank, General Labienus and his 2 legions pursued the Atrebates into the woods and uncovered the tribe's camp, where the Belgians had been waiting for days for the Roman column prior to Caesar's arrival. After swiftly dealing with the few sentries, Labienus took control of the camp and then pressed on to the top of the hill. Observing the challenging situation of Caesar and the 7th and 12th legions across the river, he promptly ordered the 10th legion to come to Caesar's aid before the Nervii could breach the defenses. Baudouagnatus and his tightly packed troops were focused solely on Caesar and his besieged legions. They were completely unaware of the 10th legion's sudden return, which took them by surprise as the legion's leading cohorts charged into their flank. Despite being outnumbered, the 10th Legion's arrival ultimately turned the tide of the battle. Their fierce determination to rescue Caesar led Plutarch to later describe their actions as displaying courage beyond human capacity. Overwhelmed by the relentless attack, the Nervii were driven back to the riverbank by the 10th Legion, allowing Caesar to regroup the 7th and 12th Legions and bring them to the aid of the 10th. In the center, the 8th and 11th legions successfully withstood the Viromandui's attack and pushed them back to the river's edge. After the Viromandui broke off and fled, the 8th and the 11th joined the other 3 legions in engaging the Nervii, who valiantly fought from behind mounds of their own dead, refusing to retreat. Thousands of Nervian warriors fell, and the Romans achieved a decisive victory. Finally, tranquility descended upon Gaul, even though summer still lingered. To the west, beyond the Channel ports Caesar had captured along the French coast, lay the largest island known to the Romans at that time, Britain. With the troops, time, and ships at his disposal, including some provided by new Gallic allies and others captured from the tribes of Brittany the previous year, Caesar set in motion plans for a daring amphibious operation.